Sometimes you come across a game so mysterious it makes you think, let's make sure I never come across this again. This is why today we're diving into 7 of the most mysterious video games, brought to you by Hunted Killer Mallory Rock. Use the link down below, or you can go to huntedkiller.com/oddheader and use code oddheader for $10 off your order. Again, make sure to use code oddheader for a $10 discount. Bryce's movement engine. Thanks to frequent contributor HajimeTheFool for submitting this discovery on the Oddheader Discord. Bryce's movement engine is an especially perplexing video game that showed up on the Steam store in 2020, which instantly raised the questions, who the hell is Bryce and what kind of game would be Bryce's movement engine? The game itself is a rather simple platformer in a mishmash environment with a dated early to mid-90s aesthetic. It doesn't appear to have any story and never explains anything about the mystery man Bryce himself. But one unsettling Easter egg reveals there's something much darker lurking beneath the surface. As in the first level of the game, the player reaches this wall and starts pressing left and right continuously. They'll start to slowly crawl through the wall until suddenly they're teleported to a strange alternate version of the level. Here the sky becomes a darkening blood red, the music slowly becomes more distorted and out of tune, and crows watch in trees from afar. It only continues to become more and more unsettling the further that you progress through the level, until you go back to the spot where you originally broke out of bounds and try again, only to end up in a different map with some even more unsettling noise where the only thing to do is run to the right, until eventually you come across some sonic rings that spell out the question that's on everybody's mind. Who is Bryce? The sky continues to get darker and darker as you continue to run further and further, until finally, holy a giant evil-eyed Bryce shows up behind you moving at an impossible to escape speed, and when he inevitably catches you, you're booted back to the map screen. I don't want to play this anymore. However, if you were to return to the secret area again, access to the second secret area would now be cut off. But if we continue further through the original secret area, we can find Bryce crying? What the hell? Moving even further, you can keep going right until apparently the level asset's cut off and you're seemingly out of bounds, when suddenly another Bryce comes out of nowhere, followed by the game fading to static. Bryce appears to surround the player while the game continues to fade in and out of static, only for it to switch to a sonic level graphic that says to chase. What follows from there only continues to get more insane as hell, as this time you chase Bryce and another message appears saying some may have changed. What? The screen that follows is an absolutely baffling scene of an elderly man in a jacket in a red flashing room staring at a mysterious door. And when you enter that door, you come out of a skull on the map screen you can't return to. What the hell just happened? And now if you return to the level, it looks slightly different with the secret area now blocked off by construction. The only other clue we have is a Steam Greenlight campaign trailer that came out 3 years before Bryce's movement engine that reveals Bryce to be an eerily soft-spoken man.
I know we's gonna have some fun, but how much fun? Well, that's up to you.
Okay, now I'm definitely done with this game. Funny Pizza Land. Funny Pizza Land is a very aptly named game considering there's absolutely nothing funny about it and is terrifying as hell. This nightmarish title has been shared around the internet for the last decade in a strange, inexplicable adventure where you follow this absolutely atrocious looking dude Pedro on a journey to find a global media monster in what appears to be a typical weekday in Funny Pizza Land. The game takes Pedro through a hellscape complete with haunting music, disturbing monsters, and an all-you-can-eat buffet at Pedro's Pizzeria, all while you encounter relentless, inexplicable horrors such as this thing. As the game progresses, Funny Pizza Land keeps taking turns even more dark and mysterious, until you end up in this terrifying dungeon where a monk appears to be torturing someone in a cage, and Pedro faces off with the global media monster, who kind of looks like an evil version of me, before the game ends with Pedro trapped inside a bedroom with a flickering TV. Perhaps the biggest mystery about the game, however, is contention over whether or not the game was actually made in 2002 like it adamantly claims. The game certainly looks like it was made in 2002, but many think it's only designed to look so, as no one has been able to find any record of the game existing before 2011. Confusing the matter further, some have even ripped the game apart and found it was made with 3D Game Studio A5, an engine that was primarily used in the early 2000s, as well as all the game files being dated 2002, which means either this game really is an absolutely twisted early 2000s creation, or the creator has really gone out of their way to confuse players into thinking so. The question then becomes why someone would do something so pointlessly confusing, but then again, this is the person who made Funny Pizza Land. Not sure why I'm expecting anything about this to make sense in the first place. A. Thanks to Dean Sinclair for submitting this to the Oddheader Twitter. A is a seriously strange game that apparently showed up on the Nintendo eShop in October 2021 that went completely unnoticed, until that Zook on Reddit supposedly found it a few days later after its silent release. Starting with the most obvious mystery is A's name itself, as you can't really search for A on the internet, making it appear as though it doesn't actually exist. In fact, the only way that Zook claims to have found the title was by sorting the games by lowest price on the eStore and finding it quickly as it was only 89 pence. Not only that, the game was only released in Europe, meaning mean I had to set up a UK account and obtain a UK Nintendo e-currency in order to download it. Right off the bat, the title screen is immediately striking, which differs quite a bit in tone once you start the game. A is a challenging platformer where you appear to be playing as something. After beating the first level, the game tells you will soon be reincarnated, without further explaining. Of course, the next scene takes place on a half watermelon where apparently Captain Olimar from the Nintendo Classic Pikmin is randomly chilling. The developer Banana Cat appears to be an entirely unknown entity, except a private Twitter account in a previous title released the same year on Steam called SDST Deluxe, which appears to feature the same protagonist. The bonus menu on the pause screen of A doesn't really provide any clues, though there is this strange screen with the Mona Lisa that certainly seems odd. At the end, it takes a pretty crazy, shocking turn that I never expected, as you meet and defeat Dracula, who says "just remember," and then provides a long binary code. Translating this, we get the message to input a code at the main menu. In doing so, we immediately get this horrifying screen reminiscent of the 1993 Sonic CD Easter egg, a discovery in Sonic CD that reached creepypasta level of notoriety, where if you input a code on this screen, you suddenly get this image, which is believed by many to be some sort of inside joke by a developer. From here, what used to happen was so insane at first I didn't believe it, but thanks to this footage from Rahim Ali on Discord, who verified while playing on a Switch with a serial that can't be modded, and the original 1.0 version of the game, if you waited long enough on this screen, an image of President Xi Jinping with a red armband and a tiny mustache would appear, which was removed after a version 1.1 patch. Perhaps a good move, considering that Easter egg is highly reminiscent of one I covered in the game Devotion, that got the game removed from stores for also hiding criticism of President Xi Jinping, who has a reputation for banning media critical of him. All I gotta say is this Easter egg really confuses what exactly the creator's actual intentions for all this nonsense really is. Well, if anyone out there wants to play A and try to figure out if there's any more method to the madness, now's your chance to do so, as I can't imagine Nintendo's gonna be too happy if they find out about this one. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Thanks to TrashyAimer for submitting this on the Oddheader Discord. Although every Metal Gear Solid takes a huge step forward in Hideo Kojima's path towards complete madness, we're not actually going to talk so much about 2004's Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, but rather the minigame demos in each of the Metal Gear Solids on PlayStation 2. Metal Gear Solid 2's minigame demo was a fun, unexpected Tony Hawk-style skateboarding game, which featured Snake and Raiden shredding it up on an oil rig to pull off some sick moves, which served as a teaser for Konami's Evolution Skateboarding released the following year. The minigame demo Easter egg in Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, however, is a much more mysterious curiosity. The game, referred to in the credits as Nightmare Game Guy Savage, can be accessed by saving the game before Snake escapes the jail cell near the end of the game. After talking to paramedic about the movie Dracula, the player needs to quit and then load the save again. The player then suddenly drops into what appears to be a dream sequence, which throws you right into a hack-and-slash game inside a shoddy warehouse filled with zombie-like creatures in police uniforms, fighting off zombie hordes by doing stylish moves with your hook swords, which also features some strange graffiti I can only assume was far from finished. If you kill enough, you will power up and turn into a monster of some sort, allowing you to kill even more zombies. But once the timer runs out, Snake wakes up and the game is over. To players' confusion through the years since finding the Easter egg, the minigame didn't turn out to be a teaser for any Konami game later released, even though that was supposedly the tradition with these minigames in Metal Gear's PlayStation 2 titles. When series director Hideo Kojima was first asked about why Guy Savage was in the game or what it was supposed to be, he gave the most Hideo Kojima response ever and replied, "What game?" He later said that the minigame inside Metal Gear Solid 3 was originally going to be Konami's 1985 game Gradius, but that he wanted to include an original demo instead. The only other clue we got is some believe it may have been a cancelled prototype for an installment in the Metal Gear related series Zone of the Enders, as there are some references to an Anubis 2 in the date of the demo, though it's very possible these were leftovers from the 2003 Zone of the Enders 2, which was called Anubis Zone of the Enders in Japan. Even stranger, when Snake Eater was later released on the PlayStation 3 and Nintendo 3DS, for some unknown reason, Guy Savage was completely removed from the game. It's been nearly 2 decades since we've ever seen Guy Savage, and unfortunately what the game was supposed to be may just be forever locked away in the mind of Hideo himself. And whether or not we can get a straight answer out of him on anything is a mystery that truly can never be solved. Garage Bad Dream Adventure. Thanks to Jakey for submitting this through the Oddheader Discord. Garage Bad Dream Adventure is actually the first game I ever covered on the channel, and at the time I actually wasn't able to say much as the PC game was incredibly rare and never translated into English. Against all expectations, however, Garage Bad Dream Adventure recently received a US release at the end of 2021 on mobile, iOS, and Android of all things, with all new graphics completely remastered and apparently lots of new content. And now that I finally have played the game, it still makes no sense. It turns out you're actually playing as a man named Mr. Yang connected to a machine called Garage who's using it for some form of dream therapy. Which, to summarize as best as I can, Garage is a deeply unsettling game about Machine Yang, who seeks upgrades for his robotic fish-like body as he's led on a sequence of random tasks through mysterious notes, looking for human-like shadows belonging to each robot that can supposedly help you escape Garage. And while Garage itself is a game where the entire nature could not be reasonably explained, the mobile version adds more details that only bring up more questions. For example, a character named Noom blocks a pathway through most of the game. However, at a random point, Noom leaves his position saying what I wanted wasn't there, and never returns again. While exploring the path he obstructed only leads to an unexplainable hall of darkness. In the mobile version, however, a new journal has been added to the hallway, giving more explanation of Noom supposedly finding something in the darkness. Even stranger, the text log updates with Noom's last quote before he decides to disappear forever, and the text log usually only updates when there's an objective left for the player. Another unexplainable aspect is a new area that was added where you can fish and catch a frog named Nane, who gives a mysterious quote every time you catch him, giving such wise words of wisdom such as, "You're a nice guy, you're a fine guy, you're a wonderful guy. Take it. Take everything. You will disappear if you try to find out about me. Isn't that amusing? Ki. Even stranger if you were to achieve the worst ending in the game where you stay in Garage. When you fish the inane, this time he has a unique message to share before he disappears forever, never to be seen again. Huh? Oh, come on. Is it over already? Didn't you promise you'd keep playing with me? Let's keep playing. I have everything, you know. What? I have everything. Ba ba ga ga ba. Oh, well, thanks for the silk drawers, I guess. What the f? INFRA. Thanks to PA for submitting this through Oddheader.com. INFRA is a fairly obscure first-person game released in 2016 on Steam by indie developer Loista Interactive from Finland. INFRA puts you in the shoes of an ordinary structural analyst who documents structural integrities in the environment with nothing but a flashlight and a camera, with a disclaimer that clearly states it's not a horror game, but that you may feel so after playing it. And with that sort of warning, you can imagine why this game's on this list. INFRA is unique in that much of the content and lore of the game is hidden throughout multiple paths in the environment. For instance, after a while into the game, murals and hidden paintings of this odd monster referred to as the Morco can be found, who can be seen briefly in the background in rare moments of the game. The mask of the Morco can be found in the darkest and sometimes startling hidden corners of the map. But perhaps strangest of all, he can also be found on an incredibly trippy hidden map only accessible through console commands, which consists of an infinite tube of binary code that inexplicably spells the word other side. Whoa. You can also start to find strange glowing green mushrooms, which infected this hidden zombified man here. Even so, that doesn't explain this unexpectedly gruesome hidden scientist quarters covered floor to ceiling in blood or some other unknown substance, with Moriko's face and a message on the wall stating, "Inside, tell me, it's behind the walls." Behind this wall is a computer terminal with a cipher that when decoded references a creature named Ugu as the god of the underground, who can be found hidden in the game as a statue surrounded by blue mushrooms. With little known about Ugu besides that Ugu may hold some sort of cure from the green mushrooms in the game's lore. Also, if you call a hidden phone number you can randomly find in the game, you can find some mushroom tea on a refurbished dock. Drinking the tea puts you in a strange secret area called the Wasteland for 5 minutes, before background noise pervades the area and a sudden flash blinds you back to reality. If you manage to find the key under the cell tower before time runs out, you can open a hidden hatch where you can find a model of a white mask and artifacts that reveal a deeper ARG, alternate reality game, where players would need to seek clues outside of the game in order to solve the rest of the game's mysteries. Additionally, if the secret location was viewed from a bird's eye view, symbols that can be seen in a hidden bunker in the game where a Morco dwelling can be found can also be seen painted in terrain textures from above. After this was found, 2 users in the INFRA Discord, Zunti and Askyuden, began posting screenshots from the game with cryptic messages in the file names and in the images themselves, with only portions of their code currently solved at the time of this video's release. Considering players of INFRA have been waiting 6 years for a supposed massive update to the game that still hasn't been released, Zunti and Askyuden might be leading us down this trail for a while. What all these mysterious pieces in INFRA ultimately add up to, what the ominous Moriko and Ugu's ulterior intentions actually may be, and how long Zunti and Askyuden intend on keeping those breadcrumbs flowing, are questions with answers that still remain a mystery. Attacking Zegata. Thanks to ToAzalea for submitting this through Oddheader.com. The mystery surrounding the Zegata games is such a confusing rabbit hole it's hard to say exactly where it began. People seem to have first noticed something was up when Attacking Zegata first appeared on the PS Store for PlayStation 4 on June 22, 2015, with a rather cryptic trailer, only to find that the actual game looks like the The ugly mess appeared to be near impossible and practically unfinished, with such obtuse objectives and unclear directions that no one was able to achieve any of the game's trophies for at least 5 years, leaving its small player base to wonder if a game this bad could have really been made unintentionally. And before anyone could figure that out, Attacking Zegata 2 suddenly appeared in the PlayStation Store a year later in 2016. The only problem is, no one's actually managed to get past the first level. Furthermore, Attacking Zegata 2 has 15 trophies no player has ever achieved or figured out since the game originally appeared. And before the game even begins, you briefly start with a ball in a maze where again, no one has figured anything out before it boots you into the game. However, a number of clues and leads connected to the game seem to confirm there is something more going on here. First, Attacking Zegata opens with a strange copyright that extends to 5015. And right from the main menu, Hebrew can be seen all over the background. A really big giveaway though is a minigame called Flap that full-on emulates Flappy Bird. And to briefly remind everyone of Flappy Bird, it was a historic moment in mobile gaming in 2013 where a truly awful game showed up on the App Store that became the most downloaded game on the store, benefiting a single Vietnamese developer, before he removed it. Weirdly, however, the Zegata series actually predates Flappy Bird, as if we were to visit the developer's channel Denisoft on YouTube, we can see there was once a now deleted mobile game called Zegata Video Game that was actually available in 2012. And thank God that game was removed so that I don't have to play it. And this trailer for the Zegata Video Game 2.3, which claims to be the first Puerto Rican video game, has me seriously confused, as the provided English captions over the awful text-to-speech voices say, "Our parents are dead, sign this contract. I will take good care of you, trust me. Okay, elder brother, I love you and trust you with my life. Sometime after, I will give you what I want and whenever I want. If you're hungry, then sell vitamins." The most mysterious lead, however, lies in a cryptic page known as the Vault that once appeared on the developer's website. With the use of archive.org, we can pull up an archive version of the page that said, "The Vault is where you can find Denisoft's most secret files. You may be allowed to enter once you beat one of our games in the following list. The password will be revealed to you and you will know the truth behind the company, the true origin of our games, and many other unknown things." And if you click enter the vault, you can see a password protecting you from going forward. While the Denisoft website is long from being up in the state, and this page clearly indicates nothing here is as it seems, it doesn't look like any of that slowed the developers from continuing with the insanity, as 3 years ago Flap returned with Flap ZVR on the official Oculus store. Oh god, do I have to play this? Somebody help me. And if you're looking for another mysterious game to play at home, look no further than Hunt a Killer. Hunt a Killer is a really cool murder mystery subscription box service, where your help is needed in an investigation so you can hone your detective skills from the comfort of your couch. In the new game, when Beth Ferris Hendricks' death is declared an accident in the small town of Mallory Rock, Maine, her sister Gwen sets out to prove that Beth was murdered. Gwen, having grown up on the New England island, must investigate the residents she's known all of her life. To catch the killer, Gwen will need your help to expose her hometown and uncover the secrets that exist on Mallory Rock. Hunt a Killer is a great game to play with other people by challenging to decode ciphers, examine clues, and solve puzzles. It's a mysterious game delivered right to your door. And if you're someone that prefers to work solo, Hunt a Killer is designed so that you can play your way. Hunt a Killer isn't just about solving a murder. The game tells an immersive story. You'll learn about the backstories for each of the suspects, their complicated relationships to the victim, and watch everything unfold as you complete each episode. And if you're really into true crime, part of the proceeds from every box goes to the Cold Case Foundation, an organization that's dedicated to helping with real-life cold cases. I really loved the last episode, Blair Witch, and I wasn't sure if this season could be even better. But Mallory Rock turned out to be just as good, if not better, than Blair Witch. And that says a lot as a huge Blair Witch fan. Right now, you can go to huntakiller.com and use code Oddheader for $10 off your order. Again, make sure to use code Oddheader for a $10 discount. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, please subscribe. And if you know of any other mysterious video games that you'd like to see me cover, submit through Oddheader.com, come join the Discord, or even give me a shout through Twitter or Reddit. Shout out to Alexander Knight, Angel to Fox, Ash Photography, Andrew FM, Chad Biscuits, Grow Ups, Combat 15 Bowl, Dear Mid Crowley, Ed Moffat, Eddie Talkspin the Bleach Primid, Fox M Cloud 123, Frosted Flakes, Leo Maurer, Lucky 7, Miss Arctic Foxy, Nikki Forever, Oliver Pearson, Riley S, Robert Eisenman, Scarities, Starcore 2, Sneaking J, Taryn Stock, Towerizer, Trey Adams, Vincent, and Jan Banier for their Patreon support. Stay tuned.